a discussion came up about whether or not you should pay for something you did 20 something years ago. And the way I see it, if you're talking about stealing a candy bar or shoplifting, or maybe you didn't pay for your food and you walked out on a restaurant tab. So a lot that stuff is clothing, food, that kind of thing. Uh, Stealing obviously is being done every day from the top to the bottom, whether you call it white collar or blue collar or what have you. Somebody's always probably stealing something. But if you have any type of crime against another person's body, physically, against someone's body, then I feel that, especially when they're having to have to suffer flashbacks and deal with anxiety and post traumatic stress from something that you did from 20 or 30 years ago, and there's no statute of limitation on it, then I have no problem with someone paying for something that they did to somebody else that was violent, a violent act. I know sometimes people feel that rape is a controversial subject, so let me also address the whole rape thing. I have had at least one situation where a boyfriend had eight hands, and just was very pushy, and it was it may have been a situation where I just wasn't in the mood, and I had to kind of go with the flow because it was just the way it happened. Now, of course, the next day we did discuss the situation because I may not have been pleased with the way it happened and the way I felt forced, or forced, basically forced, or manipulated to participate. That was something. Okay, we discussed. We said, okay, I didn't like the way it went down. It doesn't need to go down like that anymore. Okay, that's not rape. I don't consider that being a violent rape. So I know the difference. So my situation that happened in 1990, my assailant, the relationship was already borderline violent anyway. It was some other things that already happened before, and I guess by me being naive, and I allowed certain things to get out of whack, um, it just things compounded, and then finally that one final act was just it was just the final straw that broke the camel's back. It was just that was ultimately what happened. And there's um, other variables to that whole situation, which if we had a trial, then those variables would have also come up, and the bigger picture of how this was an unhealthy relationship that just became more and more unhealthy and to a violent act. Um, of course, there was other potential, like I said, other potential situations with my assailant that was not good, and because I was young, I didn't I didn't really, I guess, understand the flags. Like, I wrote down the notes, and so I think in my head, I think I knew, okay, these things stood out, but me being older and reading back over the stuff, I mean, I really was like, oh my God, all of this stuff was flags, and me just not understanding relationships and stuff like that. It and then, you know, my dad was a good dad, so I felt that men supposed to be respectful to women, and that just didn't happen. And the DA clearly back then knew that my assailant did not know how to treat women. So supposedly he had to do counseling for a couple of months, and then the charges would be dropped. So that was the punishment, was to complete counseling sessions. So I know for a fact that I still suffer physically, emotionally, from the attack and the relationship. I never forgot about it. The people who I've dated, they have seen the results of what I've went through. Me going to get wellness exams. My doctors all know, okay, something went wrong in your past. So it's the violent act in itself. Um, that's what I went through. I'm not saying that. I gave you an example of maybe a situation where you felt manipulated into, you know, basically having sex when you're not really in the mood. That's totally different situation than what I'm trying to go after my assailant about. So I really, really appreciate your support as I pursue the justice that I did not get in 1990. I know there's some people who have the whole family challenge. His act really affected every relationship that I had, be it work related or personal or intimacy. However, the relationships is shaped my personality, the way I see things. You know, even going to an eye doctor, you know, just it's just certain things that trigger anything that takes power out of my hands, triggers that whole scenario of that night that I basically was raped and kidnapped. um, and I'm just putting it out there. Is what I went through is different. It was an hour long situation. It was just different. I know the difference, and if it was something simple, I would have already been over it. But I'm not. It's caused so many arguments with my family, and it's just from a family standpoint. I feel like he's taken my family, the happiness from my family, and my ability to have a family. I think he's taken that from me. So as far as people worrying about, you know, his family, um, the justice system screwed everybody. I mean, if we would have taken this to court back then, it would have been already resolved. But because it wasn't taken to court, it's not resolved. So the justice system failed everybody. It failed me. It failed his family. It failed my family. So it's really a justice. What justice? There's no winners here. I'm suffering. Everybody's suffering. So there's no justice. Just like the Central Park 5 movie or the Central Park 5 story, uh, when they see us, or I mean, there's no winners. So Hopefully, I answered somebody's question. I just wanted to, put basically those three topics out there. This Benita, have a good one. Bye bye.